In this video, I will be doing my updated House prediction of the 2022 House elections as of April 22nd of 2022. So let's begin today's video. Let's start by looking at the generic ballot, which has the Republicans up by 2.5 points. I think realistically, they're up by even more, given that there is 15% undecided, and we know that Republicans, typically speaking, win those undecided voters. Look at the recent polls. Democrats have been doing a little bit better, but realistically, even if they win the state by the popular vote by 1 or 2%, they're still gonna lose the House of Representatives. So yeah, it does look pretty good for the Republicans at this point. You'd rather be a Republican than a Democrat. But let's get right into today's prediction. First off, we have Arizona, because we're going in alphabetical order, and two of these states really we don't have much to talk about there. I think first of all, the second district will be, I think, likely. Not lean, because looking at the state of Arizona, actually, this district is R plus 15 according to the Cook PVI, which is not very good for a incumbent, especially because although he did win in a much more, I think, Republican seat compared to a even seat, he was able to win in a, I think, Republican plus 6 seat, but Republican plus 15 and Republican plus 6 is a big difference here. Going to the first district, just given the natural environment, I think that is enough to push him over 5% in Arizona's first congressional district, and just because of the natural environment, same argument here, the fourth district going to be slightly more competitive, though I do see Democrats going to win this seat. Going to California, we do have a few competitive seats. Let's start by the numerical order here. First of all, the third district, I do think it will be a Republican likely seat. It is only a seat in which Democrats won by less than 2%. Republicans won by less than 2% using the President 2020 data set, but I think they should be able to do it pretty well given the national environment. Going to the 6th district, it's going to be likely. I don't think it's going to be safe. It's only, I think, D plus 15? I think that's the results here. It's only D plus 15, and I say only because, the national environment just not going to come home for the Democrats in a lot of these seats here. Josh Harder going to win by a lean margin. I really don't see him losing, but I think it's going to be closer given the national environment. Similar argument here in the 13th district. I see it being pretty decently close. I think it's because of the national environment and because there's no incumbent there. I think that's something super important in a district, in a House election, because people need to know you before they vote for you, and Democrats, they don't have an incumbent, so there's less name recognition there. Going to the 22nd district, I do put it as lean Republican. Yes, this district, I think looking at the state of California here, it was a seat that the Republicans only won by 0.89%, and the district is 2 points more Democratic. That being said, the popular vote is just not. It's just enough to push the seat to the Republicans. I think the 27th similar argument here. Republicans won that seat by less than 0.1%, but the national environment just paves the way that the Republicans are going to win the seat. We can go to Los Angeles here for the final two competitive seats. I'm going to be talking about the 45th. Michelle Steele. She's in the D plus 5 district, but given that I don't think any Democrats necessarily, most of them are not going to perform as well as Joe Biden did in California. I think that's one of the reasons why I think the Democrats, won't do as well in, Los Angeles, the suburbs of Los Angeles, and really just the national environment not going to come home for the Democrats. They're just going to lose a lot of these seats because it is somewhat of a Republican wave. I say somewhat because we still have time to go to the election, until the election. But right now, it just doesn't look very good for the Democrats. Katie Porter, I think she's still going to win, but it's just going to be a tilt margin because of the national environment. Come on, R plus 3, the national environment there. Colorado, we have two competitive seats. Let's go with the 7th district here. First of all, I think it's going to be tilt Democrats. Not going to be likely. It's not going to be lean. The incumbent here is not running for re-election. That's a big problem on the Democratic side. And really, I think the Denver suburbs are too far out for the Republicans to end up winning the seat, but yeah, the national environment is my main argument for most of these seats here. The 8th district, similar thing. Although Denver suburbs are pretty far gone for the Republicans, they could still win a seat in such a, I'd say, bad national environment for them. Again, things can change, but really, I just don't see it changing, especially because Biden's approval rating is continuously dropping. It has leveled off in the dropping levels, but it's still kind of dropping. Going to Connecticut here, I think the 5th district is going to be lean. Not likely, but I'm not going to talk too much about it. Florida, Ron DeSantis just needs to sign his own map to get a proposal up, so I think it's going to pass tomorrow here, and by the time I upload this video, it's probably already going to be passed. But yeah, we can't really talk about Florida, nor are we going to talk about Delaware. Georgia, not really much competitive seats here, because Georgia, this district, Georgia 6, is actually R plus 25. In fact, there is actually previously a Democratic incumbent that's currently holding the seat, actually. Let's just go there. I believe, what state is it again? Georgia. I have really bad memories here. Carolyn Bordeaux and Lucy McBath hold these 2 seats, but really they're just showing up Bordeaux's seat, and Lucy McBath, in her seat, she's going to lose, because she's, right now, her previous district is now in a R plus 25 seat according to the Cook PVI. So Carolyn Bordeaux and Lucy McBath are in the same seat, I guess I can say. The 2nd district is going to be, I think it could be likely, I'm going to play as lean here. The incumbent here did win by 15 points, but given the national environment, and given that incumbents, they typically, they do underperform as the elections go by. This is the 15th time he has won a election here, so again, I think that's going to drop some of it, and really, just the redistricting has made the state more competitive, generally speaking. The state of Illinois, let's see, so Hawaii, Idaho, we don't have much to talk about there. Illinois, we do have one of the, probably the worst gerrymanders in the entire United States. I won't blame Democrats too much for this area, because there is that minority, theme there, but really some of this, for example, the 2nd district, the 17th district, the 13th district, it just looks so intentional. But this is not a video about criticizing gerrymandering, so let's go district by district. I think the 17th district, although the Democrats, this is a D plus 7.8 district according to the 2020 presidential data set, I think still Sherry Bustos not running for re-election in 2022. That's going to hurt the Democrats tremendously. And right now, it just doesn't look very good for the Democrats in the national environment. I think right now most people, they just really, in my opinion, the Republicans are doing very well in the national environment. Democrats are only polling at 42%. Alright, so going to the 13th district here, I think this is an open seat, so I think the Democrats still have the edge here because the Republicans have no incumbent, and just given the national environment, it's going to be close, but it is a D plus 7 seat according to Cook PVI on a, even basis. Going to the 14th district, I think it's also going to be kind of close, and the 11th district also going to be closer, but I think both of them are going to change in the Democratic column. Indiana, I don't really think there's much to talk about in Indiana. Iowa, we do have some things to talk about. I think they did update this map here. I think it was previously both of these districts were lean, now they're likely Republican, which is good because I think that's how I would label them. I also think the 3rd district, though, Cindy Jackson probably going to lose. This district is actually pretty similar in terms of partisan composition compared to her old district, but yeah, it just doesn't look very good for her. Like, the national environment against her, I think Biden, I'm not so sure about this district, but even if Biden wins the district, it's going to be really narrowly, and that's just not going to be a good sign for the Democrats in the state. Kansas, I think, Sheriff Davis, this map could be challenged, but it could hold on. I think it's likely going to hold on, honestly, but it doesn't matter. We're just going to do a prediction. Sheriff Davis probably still loses re-election because of the national environment, and really I think there's going to be some type of suburban reversion, more or less, not going to be much though. So yeah, I'm going to be going to the Maine 2nd district. I am going to play as lane. It could actually go up to likely. The Democrats have a pretty decent candidate going to the state. I'm going to just go to the state of Maine here. We have 2 Democrats. Jared Golden, I believe, is the Democrat's name. He is he won the district because despite the Donald Trump winning the district by 7 points, on a presidential level, Jared Golden won by 6 points. That being said, bipartisanship is far less of a thing right now, and I think the national environment just gonna screw him over, alright? This district could still go blue, it could still be really, really close, but I just think the Republicans gonna have this seat in the end. Maryland, their new map, they do have the David Throne. I think this is updated. They do have him winning now by a lead margin. We're going to go to the state of Maryland. Now, I do understand the Democratic argument as well in the state. I'm going to acknowledge both sides because that's how you really predict elections fairly. But, yeah, this is a Biden plus 10 seat, not going to lie here. But I think the national environment really doesn't help. And Biden won the state by 30. That was an exceptional performance. I think no Democrat previously won the state by 30 points. Like, that's insane. And I think David Throne may be a decent candidate, but again, just looking at this district, this is much more conservative of a district, and the national environment just not going to go very good for them. I do think the Republicans would narrowly flip the seat as well. Looking at this is actually R+1. It's actually not a Democratic-leaning seat. I think both of these seats will narrow down. They're definitely not going to flip. They're just going to narrow down. Of course, Michigan, looking at these seats here, there are 3 toss-ups, but the other seats are pretty safe. We're going to go to this map here. This map hasn't changed a whole lot compared to 2020. Some of these districts more Democratic, some of these districts more Republican. I think the 3rd district, there is a Republican incumbent. That's why I think the Democrats are likely going to lose this seat. It's going to be pretty closer, especially because Biden won Kent County. This was pretty historic because I think the Democrats only won the county once for a very long time on the presidential level until 2020. So that's really significant here, but Peter Major probably still going to win because I think Democrats are just not going to do too well in the suburbs this time. I think both of these seats here, I think more so in the 7th district, I think the Republicans going to flip the seat for Democrats. On the 8th district, Daniel Clady, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name here. This district is going to go very close to wire here, but it's going to go very close. But in the end, I think the Democrats still have the narrow edge here, given that I think she's a good incumbent. I think she won re-election by 12 points, if I'm remembering correctly. So I think I'll give the district to her. But I think this district will be likely, well, the open seat here will be likely Republican. Minnesota, I think Andrew Craig probably going to lose because Minnesota, I think the suburbs are going to reverge to the Republicans a little bit, so we're actually going to have a Republican majority in Minnesota. We haven't had that in the United States for a very, very long time, I believe. So, going to Mississippi, Missouri, we don't really have much to talk about there. Missouri hasn't even passed the map. Montana, I think it's likely and safe. That also makes sense. This district could be competitive in maybe 2026 if the Republicans win the presidential election, but right now it's just not going to be within the question for a Democrat to win the state here. Nebraska, down vacant seat is driving more Republican, so I have no problem seeing that he's going to win. I think it's going to be actually likely because in 2020, his Democratic challenger in 2018 actually endorsed him, which is quite interesting. Nevada, yeah, I'm pretty sure they moved Susie Lee's district from lean Democrat to toss-up. I really agree because I think she's going to lose as well. It's going to be lean, it's going to be pretty competitive, but I think she's going to win in the end. Alright, so she's going to lose in the end. I think Nia too does as well, but the 4th district just going to have that Democratic advantage there for the Democratic Party in the state. Now, going to the next state here, New Hampshire. We don't have a map here. Christine and the Republicans are pretty conflicted on that map. Yeah, I think this map right here of New Jersey is pretty fair. I think, though, the Republicans will overperform slightly in this map, but otherwise, pretty solid map on 270 to win's behalf. Going to New Mexico. New Mexico, I think the 2nd district. This is kind of a dummy matter, but yeah, I think in 2022, obviously the Republicans are going to win the 2nd district. Yvette Herrell unseated the Democrat there. I think the Democrat there is actually a decent candidate. But yeah, the district was not for her. I think the 3rd district is kind of dummy matter, so it's going to narrow down. But I think the Democrats going to win that seat. Same with the 1st district. I think that's pretty solid. Even in a good Republican environment, Republican environment just not going to flip. North Carolina, I can really relate to this. Not relate to this, but I genuinely agree. J.K. Butterfield probably going to win re-election. That's going to be closer. 13th district, it's an open seat. Given the national environment, I do give that towards the Republicans. The 6th district, I think Kathy Manning's going to win her seat's going to be closer, but I think she's going to win in the end. North Dakota, we don't have anything there. Ohio, we do have 3 competitive districts. Let's go with the 6th and 9th district. Mark C. Caper. This is let me see. I haven't used this for a decent amount of maps, so I'm going to go to Ohio here. This map is, of course, gerrymandered, given that the Democrats in a lot of scenarios are going to win just 2 seats. The 13th district, Anthony Gonzalez not running for re-election. I think this is going to go towards the Republicans, though, because this is a R+3 seat. An R+2 seat, and do keep in mind there was previously a Republican incumbent in the national average here, so that's something to keep in mind. The 9th district, although the Democrats do have an incumbent, I think they're still going to lose narrowly, but yeah, a loss is a loss. It doesn't matter if you lose by 1 vote, it doesn't matter if you lose by 1 million votes. The truth is, if you lose, the district just goes to your opponent, basically. I think the 1st district is going to be the closest by one seat by a decent amount. I think 7 points, if I'm correctly remembering it. It's trending Democrat by big time here, but still, I think the national average is going to give it to the Republicans. Going to the state of Oregon, the open seat here in the 6th district, I think will be far closer. It's going to be actually to Republican, because I think the suburban reversion, that's something that's going to happen, in my opinion. In the 5th district, going to be closer. It's not going to flip, but it's going to be closer. Pennsylvania, we have 3 competitive seats in Pennsylvania, so yeah, I do have a dedicated video about Pennsylvania. And all of those races, do check that video as well after you finish watching this one. So don't leave right now, just finish watching this one. The 17th district, Connor Lamb retiring to run for U.S. Senate. If it wasn't for that, he could win re-election, but given that statement, I do have it going to the Republicans. Matthew Cartwright, he won, I believe it's he, but he won by 3.6 points, so a decent margin, I guess, for a district that voted, that's on the Cook PVI decently Republican. Looking at Pennsylvania here, it does take some time to load. Yeah, it did lose a seat as well. Matthew Cartwright, the 7th district, Susan Wild. As well, I'm going to talk about her district as well. I think she's in an even district. Given the national environment, I'm going to give it as lean towards the Republicans. In the 8th district, Matthew Cartwright is a R+8 district, so that's the reason why I think he's also going to lose, basically. In South Carolina, we don't have much to talk about. In Rhode Island, absolutely nothing. Tennessee, I'm actually going to move it to safe, possibly, but Jim Cooper retired. Actually, if he's retired, it could be safe, but it's a R+15 district, so it's going to go Republican anyways, and this map also agrees. The 15th district, I think it's going to be likely, because Democrats are just not going to do too well with Hispanic voters. And also, looking at the primary here, looking at Howie Killer, looking at Jessica Cisneros as a candidate, I just think the Republicans could win the 28th district, so that will be a huge flip on the Republican side. Going to the state of Virginia. Virginia, we have 2 really competitive seats here. Jennifer Waxman, I don't know why they moved it out of likely to safe. I think it's going to be decently close. Jennifer Waxman going to win this seat. Regardless, it's a, Loudoun County-based seat. I think he's going to win regardless, though. Abigail Spanberger is gonna lose. I think the year's wrong for her, alright. Had just one thing gone right for her, she would have won her seat. Just one more thing going going right with her. She has the right seat. She has she's a decent candidate. She won as an R+6 seat in 2020, but it's still just not enough for her to win the seat here. The second district, though, it's going to be much more of a Republican seat. The Democrats are just not going to do too well in this seat, given that, we have that Virginia Senate race. I know that's not a good Virginia governor's race. I know that's not a good example, but I think just genuinely speaking, Democrats are just going to lose that seat. Washington, I think really there's just one competitive seat, and the 8th district going to go to the Republicans given the national environment. Finally, we have Wisconsin. Last but not least, Wisconsin. I think the 3rd district could be more Republican, but that's it. So going to the final map here. Oh, there's actually a toss-up seat. So where did I leave that toss-up? We'll see. All right, we'll see. I think I left the toss-up. It's just tiring to just find that toss-up seat. Because I think I left the toss-up seat. Oh, damn. Or maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, this is my this is my ultimate 2022 House predictions as of today, April 22nd of 2022. Thanks for watching today's video. Leave a like, leave a subscription. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!